What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So, what are the solutions for Social Security reform? We hear a lot of lawmakers out there talking about different ways, different methods to prolong the program. But what are the real solutions? Because there are very few. I have 5 different solutions that are pretty much talked about by lawmakers. And they're only talking about 5. They're not talking about any more. And so today I want to dive in deep and we're going to talk a little bit about some of these different options when it comes to Social Security reform. Some of these options will provide an increase. Some of these options are cuts to Social Security. But we want to focus on these because when lawmakers start to figure out what they're going to do when it comes to reforming Social Security, they're going to be taking from these 5. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. And also on Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be doing a live stream on the headline news of the week. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. I want to get right into it. It's going to take hopefully this won't be that long of a video, but it has a lot of information in there that I want to share with you guys. So let's get started. So when it comes down to it, the 5 Social Security increase and reform plans, okay? Like I said, some of these plans will provide an increase. Some of these plans will provide cuts to Social Security. So it's very important to know when you're hearing lawmakers out there saying different things, what those different things are meaning, because some of them will help Social Security, it will expand Social Security, and some of what they're saying will provide cuts for Social Security. I remember watching the video clip with Senator Lee when he was talking about, and this was back in 2010, but he was talking about pulling up Social Security from the roots and just doing away with the program. And I heard someone in the background saying yes. And I thought that was the craziest thing, that someone would be rooting against Social Security. And that same individual probably contributed to Social Security. So they were paying into this system. If they were working, they were paying into this system their whole life. And now they want to do away with it. They were cheering on the fact that Senator Lee said, we're just going to pull it up by the roots. We're going to get rid of it. That's crazy to me. You're contributing money and you're just going to throw that money away. That's basically what this person in the background, I don't know who it was, but you can hear them say yes, you know.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it. Here,
It was just unreal listening to him cheer that on. I mean, when it comes to Social Security, reforming Social Security, expanding Social Security, that's what we should be focused on. Why do away with the program that you've been investing so much money in, the American people have been investing so much money in? It makes no sense. You're just throwing money away. Okay, so let's go ahead. I want to take a look at this. So 5 Social Security increases and reform plans. And so the first one here, and this is the one that we're hearing a lot of, adjusting the full retirement age, right? We're hearing lawmakers say that. That is like their go-to when they're talking about reforming Social Security. And it's mainly Republicans that are saying this. But anytime, like we're watching the presidential race right now, we're watching Nikki Haley, and we've heard some other lawmakers that have talked about Social Security and how to reform Social Security. The first thing that they say is raise the full retirement age. It's not all of them. Some of them have actually said, no, I don't think we should be doing that. Tim Scott saying he doesn't think we should be doing that. I think even Ron DeSantis, when they were both running, I think Ron DeSantis also said that we shouldn't be raising the full retirement age. But you do have lawmakers that are out there right now in Congress that think we need to raise the full retirement age, as well as candidates who are running for president and running for Congress. So this is the most popular thing that we're hearing. Okay, as life expectancy increases, gradually raising the age at which beneficiaries are eligible for full retirement benefits could help balance the system's finances, okay? So balancing the system's finances. Now, newsflash, when it comes to raising the full retirement age, it's not enough. It is not enough to reform Social Security, so to prolong the program. for any amount of time. It's not going to do that. All it's going to do is it will put a pause on the trust fund. You might be able to bring in a little bit more when it comes to revenue because people are working longer. And those people who are working longer are continuing to pay into the payroll contribution. So in that sense, it will allow for Social Security to be around for a short time longer. So instead of 10 years, I'm just giving an example, but instead of 10 years, maybe it will last 12 years. Maybe it will last 15 years. But that's it. Then we're going to be up against the same issue 15 years from now or 12 years from now. So why not fix it so it will last another 50 years or last another 75 years? That's the smart thing to do. So first one here, adjusting the full retirement age. Now, we don't know a number yet. We've heard some lawmakers say 69, some lawmakers say 70, but understand this too. If you're raising the full retirement age to, let's just say, raise it to 70, well, that would mean that the minimum retirement age, or if you want to retire at 62, are they going to make adjustments to that as well? They have to. Even if they don't move it from 62 to 65, you'll still get a reduced benefit. You'll get even more of a cut. So right now, I think they're saying it's 25 to 30%. It could go up to 40% if they raise that full retirement age to 70. So it will impact you even if you want to retire at 62 and you're still allowed to retire at 62. Okay, let's go ahead and move to the next one here. So modifying the benefit formula. Okay, we've heard lawmakers talk about this too. We've heard people running for president. Chris Christie has talked about this. Okay, tweaking the formula used to calculate benefits could make the system more progressive, ensuring those with lower lifetime earnings receive a higher replacement rate while making modest adjustments for higher earners. Okay, so what they're saying here is they're going to balance it, make it more balanced. So people who are on the lower end receiving benefits, they would be able to receive a little bit more, and people on the higher end that are receiving benefits would receive a little bit less. Okay, so balancing things out. Now, this would provide an increase for people who are at that lower spectrum. They would receive a little bit more. And so this is one plan that could provide an increase. Now, once again, when we're looking at this plan, would this prolong Social Security for a long period of time? Probably not. Because all you're doing is you're balancing, you're using the same amount of money that you have, but you're just balancing it. You're not bringing in any more revenue because all you're doing is saying, okay, the people who are receiving more are going to receive a little bit less, and the people who are receiving less are going to receive a little bit more, but the same amount of money is still needed in order to run the program. So it's not going to prolong the program. And so it's important to note that even though people on the lower end are going to receive a little bit more, they'll get an increase, it's still not going to prolong the program. And in 10 years, we're still going to be up against a situation where the trust fund runs out of money, and now we're going to have to move forward and do some type of reform. Okay, let's look at number 3 here. Increasing revenue. This is what I've been talking about for the last 3 years. When it comes to reforming Social Security, you're going to need to increase revenue. And there's only really 2 ways of increasing revenue. Let's look at this. Options to increase revenue into the Social Security Trust Fund include raising the cap on earners subject to the Social Security payroll tax. Okay, so this is one. So we're talking about raising the cap. You hear this all the time. So people making $168,600, they're going to have to pay into the payroll tax again because right now they're not contributing. And so right now, once you get over $168,600, you no longer have to pay into the payroll contribution, okay, the payroll tax. You don't have to pay into it anymore. And so they want to make a change to that. So people making $400,000 or more, they're going to have to pay into the payroll tax. Or in Senator Bernie Sanders' case, people making $250,000 or more are going to have to pay into the payroll tax. And so that's what they're looking at doing in order to bring in more revenue for Social Security. Okay, now let's continue. Or gradually increasing the payroll tax rate itself. So across the board, payroll tax increase. Now we're talking about payroll tax, payroll contribution, however you want to look at it. It's really a contribution because you are paying into a system in the hopes that you're going to be able to receive money on the back end when you retire. So raising it across the board, if it's 1% or 2%, everybody who's working now is paying a little bit more, contributing a little bit more into the program that brings in more revenue. This is the best way to reform Social Security and provide an increase. And there's several proposals out there right now that have this in their proposal as far as raising the cap or raising it across the board when it comes to a payroll contribution. And all of them show that you can provide an increase for everyone by doing that. And so that's why I think this needs to be the foundation of any reform. And I'm going to talk at the end of this video, I'll talk a little bit about why this is not happening. But it's a no-brainer. This is what needs to happen. But politicians they're not really eager to do this. And we'll talk about that at the end, why they're not. Okay, let's go to number 4 here. Encouraging longer work lives. Now, I have heard some lawmakers talk about this as well. Let's just encourage people to work longer. Matter of fact, last year, the Social Security Administration, they were changing the wording when it came to early retirement as opposed to full retirement age, as opposed to the plus-up benefits, so waiting until you're 70. They were changing the wording to try to make it a little more enticing for people to wait longer before they retire. Okay, so let's look at this. Incentives for individuals to delay retirement could not only increase the number of years contributions are made into the system, but also reduce the number of years benefits are drawn, helping to improve the program's financial outlook. Okay, so what they're saying here is if we can encourage people to work longer, they're going to contribute for a longer period of time, as well as they're not going to collect as much because they are waiting a longer period of time in order to start collecting. And we all have an expiration date. We don't know what that date is, but if we have people working longer, we know that that window that they can collect Social Security is going to be much shorter. And so that is a way to reform Social Security. Some lawmakers look at that and say, yeah, this is a good way to do it. But the only problem is it's not going to reform Social Security for the long term. This is another plan that's not going to do that. As well as we're looking at a shrinking workforce right now. So you have less people in the workforce. And I'm not talking about older people. I'm talking about people in general. We have AI that's this wave of AI coming in where people are being laid off and they're not replacing those jobs. They're replacing them with artificial intelligence. And that's probably going to continue. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. And so even when you go to the supermarket, of course, you're seeing all the self-checkout lanes. Why are you seeing self-checkout lanes? It's because stores want to hire less people. They want to have robots doing the work or you doing the work, the actual customer. And so even if you have people working longer, you're still going to have a shrinking workforce, which means you have less people paying into the payroll contribution, which means you're going to have less money for Social Security beneficiaries who are receiving benefits. Okay, let's move on to the last one here. And this is probably the most controversial one. And we haven't heard too much about privatizing Social Security, but it is still a plan. And you still have some lawmakers that are entertaining this. Okay. Privatizing Social Security involves individuals investing their retirement contributions in private markets. Okay, this is important. Their retirement contributions, putting it into private markets. Okay, putting it into the stock market is basically what they're saying. Offering potential for higher returns. Okay, so there's a potential for higher returns, but with greater risk, shifting responsibility and control over retirement savings from the government to individuals. Okay. So you might be saying, well, yeah, we should be able to invest our retirement how we see fit. And if it brings you good returns, then that's great. But what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't bring you good returns? And you've been investing this payroll contribution, you've taken it from the Social Security Administration, because that's basically what you're doing. If you're paying into a payroll contribution now, and you can't even take it all. They would have to take a part of that payroll contribution that you're putting in right now. You could invest that part, but what if you lose it? What if it goes down? What if our economy just completely tanks? Now you can't retire at all because you don't have anything set up. You might have you might have a partial benefit because you contributed half of your payroll contribution every time you got paid. but the other half went into the stock market, and the stock market didn't show good returns for you. And we know over time the stock market will show returns. We know over time. But what if your time to retire is a time where it's not showing good returns and our economy is tanking? And now you're stuck. And you might have to wait 10 years or 15 years or 20 years for the economy to get back on track, as far as your stocks to get back on track to where you can afford to retire. So that's one danger. And then the other issue that we need to look at is if you're taking money from the payroll contribution. Right now, people are paying into the payroll contribution. That contribution is going to the Social Security Administration. If you're taking money from that to allow people to invest it in the stock market, then guess what? The people who are currently receiving benefits right now, they're going to get less because you don't have as much money going to the Social Security Administration. And so it just will not work. The plan will not work. And that's probably why you're hearing lawmakers talk less and less about privatizing Social Security, because they know that it will not work. Okay, let's get to the final part here. And I want to talk a little bit about why haven't we seen any real move towards a Social Security reform or Social Security expansion. The main reason why is because if lawmakers sit down and they do the numbers, they realize that you're going to need to increase revenue, which means you're going to need the payroll contribution to increase, or you're going to need to raise the cap on people making $168,600 or more. You're going to need to do that in order to reform Social Security. All the other methods that they're talking about, they're not going to reform Social Security for any period of time. If we're looking at reforming it for another 50 years or 75 years, you're going to need to increase revenue. Full stop. That's what you need to do. And lawmakers are afraid to say that. They're afraid to go out there and tell the American people, look, we're going to have to, what they say, raise taxes, even though it's a contribution. We're going to have to raise taxes on people. And that means that we might lose our job. And they like their job. You get to work 3 weeks out of the month, 2 weeks out of the month. It's a good job. They don't want to lose that job. And they know if they start talking about raising a tax on people, that they're going to lose their job. But if you were honest with the American people and you explain to them the situation, this is where leadership comes. And we don't have a lot of leaders in Congress right now, but this is where leadership comes. You sit down with the American people, you explain to them, this is the situation. In 10 years, Social Security will see a 23% cut across the board if we do nothing. And so what we want to do is get out in front of it and raise the payroll contribution, maybe 1% or 2% across the board for everyone who is currently working. And that way, we'll have money for you when you retire, and we'll also have money for the people who are currently retired now. And we could even provide an increase for those people, as well as you when you get to the point where you can retire. That's how you have to sell it, but you have to have leaders in order to do that. And right now, we don't have leaders. We have people that try to hide. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to make any waves. They have a good gig going. And some lawmakers, they don't even want to legislate. All they want to do is cause chaos. Because if they can cause chaos, then they can just run on the chaos and they don't have to actually do anything. And so this is the problem that we're facing right now. We don't have leadership. You get leadership, and then you're going to have lawmakers that are going to tell you straight, this is the way it needs to be done. This is the only way that we can do it. We can't raise the full retirement age. Raising the full retirement age is not going to fix the problem. And so why raise the full retirement age, knowing it's not going to fix the problem, just to say, okay, we did something about Social Security reform. And then in 10, 12, 15 years, we're looking at the same situation. And then people look at it like, okay, well, what do we do now? And then, okay, now we're going to need to increase revenue, bring in more revenue. So we're going to have to do the payroll contribution. We're going to have to do the increase for that. When you can start now, go ahead and take care of that. And that way you would provide Social Security reform, provide an increase for people for another 50 to 75 years. It's the right way to go, but we don't have lawmakers right now that have the courage to do that. So I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below. Now, before I go, I do have a question for you guys, so let me know your answer in the comments. It says, what plan or plans do you think Congress should agree on? Let us know in the comments section below. So that's all I have for this video. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.
This Congress can't pass gas, and he needs to run against a do-nothing Congress. And I think that can give them some traction that he did not have before. But, you know, maybe they could get Rudy Giuliani to be speaker. We know he can pass gas for sure. But this is almost comical.